This week I'm doing something a little different with my canned food, and we are going to make fresh dog food. I'm going to use a jar of hamburger meat, a jar of mixed greens that I put up a couple of years ago. These are turnip greens, kale, probably some spinach, and then we're going to add a few other things. This is my 4 jars jar opener that I absolutely love. I'll put a link for it in the description. The dog food that I'm making today is going to have about 2 pounds of hamburger meat because that's how much will fit in a quart-sized jar. I'm going to use 4 eggs, 2 cups of brown rice, 2 tablespoons of sunflower oil, a teaspoon of roasted ground eggshell, 2 cups of the mixed greens from my jar, and then 2 teaspoons of ground flax. The reason that I decided to do this is because we switched our 10-year-old blind Cocker Spaniel to farmer's dog about a month ago, and we can already see a big difference in her behavior, her energy level, just her overall health seems to be much better. And so I'm a fan of fresh food after seeing the change in my puppy, but I'm barely out of the promotional period and it's already getting pretty pricey. After doing the math and adding up every ingredient that I am going to use in today's recipe, I ended up with a total of $2.12 per day to feed this particular recipe to my dog. The beef is the most expensive ingredient in this recipe. However, we raise our own beef and the total cost for us per pound of beef is $4. That will probably be different for you depending on where you source your beef and where you live. So $2.12 per day for an entire month would end up costing $63.60. I just paid roughly $85 for my second order from Farmer's Dog, which was a 20-day supply. So that equals out to about $4.25 a day. And for an entire month, that would cost $127.50. By taking the time to make it myself, I am cutting that cost in half. When I started researching recipes for fresh dog food, I found a YouTube channel called Veterinary Secrets. It's a veterinarian named Andrew Jones who gives you kind of the guidelines to go by for making your own dog food recipes. If you want to check him out, I will link his channel below, and I am following his guidelines for this recipe. I said earlier that I was going to use 2 cups of brown rice in this recipe, but I did end up replacing half a cup of the rice with half a cup of cooked butternut squash from my garden. You can also use sweet potato or regular potatoes in place of the brown rice, and I do normally have both of those things canned and on my shelf, which would be very convenient. Now for the ultimate test to see if Georgia will like it as much as she likes the Farmer's Dog. One last thing that I'm going to add is a krill oil peel. This is something that Dr. Jones suggests. I was very skeptical about just adding this in, but he suggests that you do not take it out of a capsule and expose it to air. The suggested serving size is half a cup twice a day for every 20 pounds. Our dog is a little bit obese, so I'm giving her about 3/4 of a cup, and Georgia took right to it with no coaxing whatsoever. I was very skeptical about having that krill oil peel just in the mix. She did move it out of the way a couple of times, but in the end, everything in the bowl was gone, including the krill oil peel. Since I've already started Georgia on a fresh food diet, I wasn't worried about mixing this with anything to transition her. This recipe got Georgia's stamp of approval in the form of a cleaned bowl. This video is not intended to bash Farmer's Dog in any way. I just wanted to see if I could make a similar product for less money. Since I made about 10 days worth of food, I went ahead and portioned those out into meal sizes and wrap them individually, and I will put these in my freezer just long enough to let them harden up, and then I will put them all in a Ziploc bag and take them out to thaw as I use them.